What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I want to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the recent updates that's been coming out from the company, some from analysts, and just what the data points are currently saying. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So currently it's down about 1% give or take. Did have a low of $8.16. So in comparison to a lot of other growth stocks, it's kind of holding up fairly well. As far as volume, very low. So 8.63 million shares being traded, 26.84 is the average. And so far, only 3 transactions on the secondary market, which even generally over the last several days as well, just the frequency and number of transactions on the secondary market has just been reduced, which does kind of signal the fact that big money is kind of taking a step back. Similarly, if you look right here, number of retail investors over the last little bit have been getting out. Over the last one day, I guess they've been getting back in slightly, but still since it looks like the 31st, they have been getting out. And while I'm on here, stochastic is currently at 9. There is a nice bullish sentiment starting to form right now, and with it being at 9, it is considered very oversold. So definitely fairly good there. As far as dark pool transactions, only 1 transaction today. So even in that regard, just big money isn't necessarily getting in. At the time of doing this video, there hasn't been any press releases, no SEC filings, nothing like that. But there are some pretty good updates, one of which is good old JP Morgan. So an analyst, Reginald Smith, who does have a 42% success rating, did up their rating from $8 to $10, and they did say give a hold rating. So once again, that's pretty good. Their last one was Piper Sandler, that was 4 days ago, and they gave a $9 rating, and 6 days ago, Citi, $12. So I think a lot of analysts, like I've mentioned over the last couple of videos, are starting to slowly warm up to SoFi, but still generally speaking, I do feel that a lot of these are still very conservative, because many of which are in direct competition to SoFi. But outside of this, some actual updates coming from SoFi itself. No PR to really match this, but it does show right here, and this was given by Data Driven Investing, who is on point with his SoFi content, his or her, I'm not really sure, but still definitely very critical. So if you guys are on Twitter, hop over there and give him a follow, him or her once again. But it does look like SoFi did launch FHA loans, and FHA definitely, it looks like it's oriented towards helping low to moderate income families attain ownership, and that's obviously through the government, insured by the government. And no matter what though, I think even with this being said, it might increase the risk a little bit for SoFi, the balance sheet of course, but I feel like this would add so much more, because when people do get a mortgage, they tend to move absolutely every other asset, so every checking account, saving, investing account, to that institution. So I think that this is a very smart idea for SoFi that once again encompasses exactly what they aim and try to do, is having a all-in-one kind of location, whether it just be for travel through Expedia and stuff like that. So I think 100% this is a very good thing. Some people might potentially try and twist this, saying that this is a little bit higher risk potentially, but like I said, I do feel that this is fairly good, and based on this, it looks like it'll work perfectly with Wyndham as well. So in reality, I do really like this information right here. As far as some additional data points, I'll go over all the things that you need to know, including what is happening with options. Market's been open around 2 hours so far, but $1.18 million in calls being purchased versus $1.44 million in puts. So based on this information, it does look like people are anticipating for it to trend down slightly. And in comparison to the last several days, there has been an increase in puts. So once again, I think people are anticipating for it to go down. And I think there was actually a sell-off that was and did occur a couple days ago that I did buy, luckily just by a random limit order that I did place, but it did touch and I think break below this S2. But as of right now, it is currently trading between this S2 and this S1, so $7.96 is a very strong support, and vice versa, $8.87 is the next big resistance. So those are 2 points that you really need to watch for, and so far it kind of is just wedge bound in between those. On the actual technicals though, so I'm looking at the 1 day right now, but zooming out a little bit, it is just wedge bound between the 50 and 100 day moving averages, lower percentile of the Bollinger Band. So like I said, I do feel that it's kind of in the middle ground. It does depend on a lot of different external factors, and as far as what I mentioned already, I think on my early or over the weekend video, I did talk on, I guess, some expectations of SoFi. And as of right now, coming from an economic standpoint, there isn't really anything to cause any major disruptions, whether it be in a positive way or a negative. But a lot of people are going to be listening to Nvidia's earnings, which is after hours on Wednesday. So I feel like that is going to be the deciding point for the broader market, including SoFi, whether it is going to be trending up past this 50-day moving average or potentially break below this 100-day moving average. So I feel that might be the next big thing to watch for. Going back to options for a second, if you are optimistic though, this does show all the call options as far as a grid view, has the strike prices, expiry dates. Based on this information though, it is anticipated to go between the 850 and 950 range by the end of next week. So of course, I think that might be a fairly good thing. So kind of in line with that. So I do feel that's kind of optimistic. Keep in mind though, I am not a financial advisor, so you guys always do your own due diligence. And like I mentioned, as far as the dark pool, normally it is a very hot exchange for SoFi, but based on today, it's only one transaction being done. So I'll give you guys a quick overview of what shorts are doing with SoFi. And as I've mentioned in the past, I don't see SoFi being a squeeze at all. I'm just bringing this up as more so as a benchmark. Short score is currently 56. Utilization is 23.49%. Currently, as of right now, there's $934.61 million worth of shorts out there. So pretty significant. Currently, shorts are returning 244,000 shares. And the way I interpret that, whenever shorts are returning shares on a red day, it does signal that it's an overreaction. That's how I see that at least. So definitely that's a fairly optimistic viewpoint. And 13.96% of the free float is being shorted. 112.49 million shares overall are being shorted. And cost to borrow average is currently 0.99. So it had a nice spike up a little bit. So it went from around 0.5% to around 1%. Still not that big of a deal because this is an annual rate. But again, that's just something for you to keep in mind. So let me know you guys' thoughts on SoFi in the comments below. As far as going back over here, do you think that we are going to break below this S2 or this S1? What do you think is at least next in the foreseeable future? Are you optimistic? Do you think it's going to pull back? What's your kind of take on all of that? I do feel that based on the last several earnings and everything that's been coming out, if SoFi ever does get back down to the $6 range, I feel like those dips will get bought up very, very fast based on just analyst ratings. Clearly, a lot of analysts are starting to see a lot of upside with that. So of course, their institutions might potentially increase, and we'll be able to find that out through the 13Fs. And maybe even at that stage as well, you'll see a lot more increasing purchasing happening from on the secondary level and maybe even the dark pool. But once again, let me know you guys' thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing, if you do like my channel, want to support the growth, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below and also the comments. With that said, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on SoFi.